Yes, this is Professor Taj Al Khazin. Today is the 8th of February 2025. I am a professor, an adjunct professor at the Normal Patterson School of International Affairs, Carleton University, Ottawa, Canada, a political commentator and an expert on issues of the Horn of Africa and Africa in general, a critic and a contributor to issues of the current war and insurrection and betrayal in Sudan. This is my YouTube recording number 68. About half of them were about Sudan, a little bit more, and the other half was and is about South Sudan as well. And this short YouTube is titled Amid the Countdown of the Government of Canada, they remember Sudan. This is exactly what happened. This is exactly what Madame Melanie Joly and her department, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Global Affairs, have actually done. They issued a communique on February 7th, 2025. This is the communique with my notes for this session. All that Canada gave to this devastating insurrection and disobedience and betrayal in Sudan was $132 billion given to four countries. Sudan was not one of them. They were the neighboring countries. And there is another 1.5 million, and there was another 2 million. So a total of about $140 million. That's all. That's what was put on the table, and it is all bilateral. Sorry, it is all multilateral. It's all multilateral. All the money went to agencies, foreign, European, North, global North institutions, or United Nations operating in the region. So no credit whatsoever will be given by the Sudanese people to the government of Canada. This government is the countdown now for their demise, and possibly the demise of the parties that have actually formed the coalition. It's not a majority government, it's a coalition government. So once the parliament comes back, I don't expect that this government will exist. Not even its breadcrumbs will be on the table. And we as Canadians, we are going into elections. We will say our word, and I don't think we are going to see the Liberal Party again. Not, not as a government. Now, what these guys did, in my opinion, as utter ignorance, as if they just want to say, we're still here. Oh, Canada is still here. And while this respected minister, Melanie Joly, is supposed to be battling what Donald Trump is doing and what America is doing, protecting us diplomatically through track one, while we and the population and the serious Canadians are working on track 2 diplomacy and track 3 diplomacy. She comes out and she takes the time and she dishes out sanctions on the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid forces. Both of them. She treated them equally. She treated the National Army of Sudan and these thugs and criminals and killers, she treated them equally, she and her government, of course, and levied uh, uh, unusual stereotype penalties on them. On Al-Ghani Hamdan Dagalo, a major in the RSF, an RSF director of procurement, also known as Al-Ghani, and Mirgani Idris Suleiman, a general in SAF, that's the National Army, also known as Mirgani Idris. These are the Canadian measures. The special economic measures of Sudan impose a dealings prohibition, effectively an asset freeze. None of them has got any assets. They don't know where Canada is. By prohibiting any individual or entity in Canada or any Canadians outside Canada from dealing in the property of entering into transactions with providing financial or related services to, transferring property to, or otherwise making goods available to the listed persons. The listed individuals are also rendered inadmissible to Canada under the Immigration and Refugees Protection Act. Just imagine, just imagine, these guys, she wants to prohibit them from coming to Canada while they're actually fighting on the ground. But the tragedy is treating a rebel group, a bunch of murderers, savages. You take all the adjectives of criminality and it can be safely bestowed on them. She equates that with the Sudanese armed forces who are trying their best to defeat these thugs, these criminals, and restore law and order and respect for Sudan. It's a daunting task, but I am sure that the Sudanese people will get there. Instead of these hollow, ineffective, ill-advised, ill-conceived measures, they could have contributed to some kind of support for the Sudanese people. They could have contributed to expediting the reunion of families and working hard that the 3,250 visas are actually given to deserving families for their reunion. And instead of this hollow measure, they could have topped up the breadcrumbs that have so far given out by something like 200 million, 250 million. If they don't want to do it on bilateral, it is supposed to be spent to support, at least give physical support to those who are still on the ground suffering as we speak now from the RSF. As well, while Canada is fighting, and Canadians look at Doug Ford, while we are fighting for coexistence with the United States and for the honorable existence of Canada, looking for measures on how we can remove barriers of trade between our provinces and looking for solutions and looking for diplomatic and political arms and means and resources to push back on the big bully, Donald Trump, our Minister of Global Affairs, comes out with this very flimsy, ineffective, insulting communique and measures. And I am sending out a simple question for her. What is the objective? What do you hope to achieve from this measure? How can you from now on have any cordial relationship with the Sudanese armed forces and indeed with the Sudanese people? And that's the important part. This is an insult. If I were the Prime Minister of Canada, I will ask this minister to apologize to the Sudanese people and to the Sudanese diaspora in Canada. The armed forces are getting arms, will continue to get arms, and they are not stoppable. They are gaining grounds, they are defeating the thugs and the criminals, driving them out from their locations, and the people are going to prevail. The people of Sudan are going to prevail. I don't want to say shame on you, Canada, because this woman does not represent Canada. She is a political appointee in a government. We will see the demise of that government soon. And I hope that the incoming government will do better. Thank you. God bless Canada and God bless Sudan.